Welcome in, Irish fans. Big one this weekend. We've got Notre Dame versus Texas A&M in College Station at Kyle Field. It is going to be a madhouse. You can bet it's going to be loud. You can bet it's going to be exciting. You can bet everybody on that field is going to be pumped up. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, what do we expect out of this Notre Dame football team this weekend? Well, not a lot of people actually expect to win. I think there's some Notre Dame fans out there that don't expect to win. But I, for one, I do expect to win. Everybody says this is a really good football team. I think this is a really good front five that we're going to see on the defensive side at Texas A&M. And I don't give that any doubt. Nick Scourton, Texas A&M, had a great season last year. He had 10 sacks last year for Purdue. 10 sacks. We didn't have anybody with 10 sacks at Notre Dame last season. Not on the team that we returned anyway. Howard Cross had 5, I want to say. And then Cassius Howell, he had 7 of his own as well, right? So we've got to deal with that. We've got to figure out how to deal with that. We've got to figure out how to deal with their, well, I'll call it the front 5, right? It's a front 4 and a linebacker, but we've got to figure out how to deal with that with a couple of young guys. We're playing Anthony Knapp and we're playing Sam Pendleton at left tackle and left guard. And that's been the big question mark for the past couple of weeks, is how are Anthony Knapp and Sam Pendleton going to handle this? I will say, don't be surprised. And I think Knapp and Pendleton have the ability to do this, or the coaches wouldn't be putting them in, right? I talked a couple weeks ago about 1% better. Who's 1% better? Who's 1% better? And if Anthony Knapp and Sam Pendleton weren't at least 1% better, there's no way that they would move a grad student and a redshirt junior, so an academic senior, 2 guys with 4 and 5 and 6 years. I think Tosh Baker's a 6th year. There's no way you move those guys to second string if they're not at least 1% better. In my mind, you better be Kyle Field in the heat on at primetime TV, all the emotion, everything going on in that field. You better be that much better, plus 1%. I don't know what that percentage is. Let's call it 10% better. So we know that we've got some great things in Anthony Knapp and Sam Pendleton. But I will tell you right now that if Nick Scourton's, in our backfield the whole game or the whole first quarter, those guys are probably not going to spend as much time out there as they did when they got listed number 1 on the depth chart. And they know that. They know they can't this is their shot. They can't mess that up. So as long as they don't cave under the pressure, we'll be fine. All right, so how does our offense deal with this? Well, first and foremost, we have 2 really good running threats in the offensive backfield. We've got Riley Leonard, who we've seen use his legs, and he used his legs a ton at Duke. Riley Leonard would be in the NFL this year if it weren't for the fact that he got injured last year while he was playing against Notre Dame. He got rolled up on, mishap in the scrum, and broke his ankle playing against Notre Dame. Was out for the rest of the season. No pro day, no combine. So he's back to prove this year that he's a top 3 draft pick. And I think we're going to see that out of Riley Leonard. Do not expect him to fail in this environment. And yeah, he's got some communication issues to work out with his wide receivers, and he hasn't had a ton of time to do that because he didn't get spring practice, and he wasn't able to dress, so he was standing on the sidelines and just kind of watching things, and he's got some relationships to build, and we're going to deal with that. And he's going to get better as the season goes on, and our wide receivers are going to get better as the season goes on. But we have some young wide receivers who are coming back for their sophomore year who are incredibly talented. We transferred in Bo Collins, who was already a great wide receiver last year. We transferred in Jaden Harrison, who again was, and Chris Mitchell, who were all very good wide receivers, and there's a reason that we have Orr as the number one on our depth chart for all 6 of those guys. For Jaden Greathouse, Jordan Faison, Bo Collins, Jaden Harrison, Chris Mitchell, and Jaden Thomas. There's a reason that we have Orr there. We have 6 starters. And the fact that our sophomores are listed in front of the grad transfers should tell you what we have in store for Notre Dame football this year and next year. We already knew how good Jordan Faison and Jaden Greathouse was. Jordan Faison didn't even practice all spring because he was out winning the lacrosse championship. It's going to be a fun football game. And let's not forget about Jeremiah Love and Jardarian Price. Jeremiah Love's got some speed, and he's got some gumption. He's gained some weight. He is ready to run some people over. So it's not the same Jeremiah Love that we saw last year at 173 pounds. Jeremiah Love is trying to hit 200. I don't know if he'll actually get there. Maybe he'll settle somewhere in like 193 or whatever. But he is a much bigger back and a much more lethal weapon in the backfield than he was last year. So expect him to get it done with his feet. You know, we will see this over and over and over again. We have got to run the ball and run the ball again and run the ball again until Texas A&M is so sure that we're going to run the ball and get 3 or 4 or 5 yards on that run, because we only need 3.5 and 3.5 and 3.5 to get a first down. As long as we're averaging 4 or 5 yards a carry and they can't stop that, it's going to start to open up the passing game, because they're going to have to bring the defensive backs in. They're going to have to bring in the safeties for help. They're going to have to use press coverage with the cornerbacks to try to stop runs to the outside. And don't be surprised if we get the ball, find different ways to get the ball out in space to Jeremiah Love. We'll do it. Don't be surprised if we find the way to get the ball out in space to our wide receivers. You know, those are the goals. I think we got a minimum of 2 turnovers tomorrow. I'm going to call it 2. Don't be surprised if we see 3. And I'm going to predict a defensive score tomorrow for the Fighting Irish. I'm going to sound like a broken record here. I've said again and again, we have a top 3 defense in the country. We've got a great linebacking core in Kaiser, KVA, Drake Bowen, Jalen Sneed, Jaden Mickey, Jaden Asbury. Like, all those guys are great. We already know that Jordan Botello, Jack Kaiser, Drake Bowen, Jalen Sneed, and Kingston Valamu Asa, KVA, they're all going to start tomorrow. So we got 5. Going to be a lot of fun. Really excited to see what those guys can put together. And at the defensive half of the ball, Christian Gray had a great season last year as a freshman. He's the next Benjamin Morrison. And Benjamin Morrison, make no doubt about it, is the best cornerback in the NCAA. And I don't care what anybody says about it. Anybody else that says anything otherwise is wrong. All right. Enough said about that. Xavier Watts, Aiden Schuler are both. I mean, they're both in great shape. We also have Rod Hurd back there, so we'll probably see them get some reps back there. Yeah. Final prediction for the game tomorrow. I'm going to say Notre Dame 31, Texas A&M 27. That's it for me. Have a great weekend. We'll see y'all on Sunday. Go Irish. Beat Aggies.